Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Speaking of the Devils. I am your host, Ryan Novozinsky, joining you from kind of a remote location. I'm here in Oklahoma. It's a long story, don't ask. I am here for a family event, and I missed the Devils game in person today. They won 2-1 in the shootout, their first shootout of the year against the Pittsburgh Penguins, a tough Penguins team. But I can't talk about any of that until I know that we are live. So let me know in the comments section below, and we will get started. Let's see. Just waiting on somebody to give me the cue that we're live. Okay, we are live. Killabush says that we are live. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Kind of a tough, grinded out game for the Devils this time. They have obviously the going up against a tougher Penguins team than I think a lot of people anticipated them to be this year. Not only that, but what? Where did this Penguins team come from stylistically? Like they're tough on the forecheck. There's a quick team. This is supposed to be like an older, kind of aging veteran team led by obviously some of these stars that are kind of clinging on to the ends of the career here. But no, they're really surging this year. Sidney Crosby, obviously still looks excellent. Letang looks great. Malkin, all these guys, and the Devils outmatched them today in winning the shootout. So let's kind of go big picture before we dive into the comments. What I think this means, in the grand scheme of things, is that the one concerning takeaway, I guess, would be that the Devils really do struggle against these really tough forechecking, aggressive style teams. We saw that against Carolina in the first game of the season. We saw that obviously today. In the 8-game win streak, I thought there were teams that they faced. Florida's a good forechecking team, Edmonton as well. That when they play their game and they get those nice breakout passes and pass it up the wall and everything like that. That's when the Devils are at their best against a team. That's how you defeat the forecheck. But the Devils just aren't. They're not great to them. They're in these bigger tests against these more competitive teams like a Pittsburgh, like a Carolina. They just kind of falters there for the Devils. So just got to figure that out and get a better game plan. Keith got to maybe simplify things. In that offensive zone to try to counteract that, or sorry, in that defensive zone to try to counteract that. And I think too, big picture as well is Gritsuk. Gritsuk looks great. He had the goal today. Smart play to pounce on that Letang turnover there in the defensive zone. He kind of baited him too, which I like to see. That was kind of a pro move, a mature move from him. He baits him and he gets and he gets that turnover in the defensive zone right near. It was like right in the slot, I think it was. He pounces on that and roofs it for the 1-0 lead. And then finally, a great showing from Jake Allen, who didn't look that great in his past couple of games. We always talk about on this show that the Devils can't seem to find their goalies seem to always be out of sync in terms of one being good and the other one being bad kind of thing. But today Allen gets the win and he proves that he's strong once again. So let's dive into the comments real quick and see what you guys are saying here. We start with Zach Chin, who says the Dilly hit was even more explosive in person. Love the physicality from him. Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, he laid out. Who was it that he laid out? I have the note here. Let's see. Dylan. It was Novak that he laid out, and then he and Mantha dropped the gloves afterwards. That was awesome. I thought the Devils would kind of get like a little spark afterwards. Didn't quite happen, but he ends up. I just thought that was a clean hit, and that's a hit that if it comes later on in the season, the Devils can certainly ride that momentum. Zach Chin again. Quote question of the day: what is your favorite way for a goal to be scored? My personal favorite is the one-timer. That's a good one, Zach. Man, I like a clapper, man. I like a slap shot clapper. Like I feel like you see that, obviously from Dougie on the power play, which we'll get into the Dougie stuff in a second. But um, I feel like I like a Nico Heischer slap shot, just a clapper that from the high slot or something like that. That you just know is going in. Um, and he leaves no doubt about it. Zach Chin again. This team really, really needs their regular players back. Thank God for Jake Allen, but God's sake, we need to stop playing in the ozone so much. Totally agreed, Zach. I mean, look, health wise, it hasn't been great for the Devils. They're fourth in man games lost this year. And quite frankly, too, it's like when some of these guys go down, it's just all it all goes out of sync, right? Like you saw that with Pesci going down. We still don't know what's happening with Connor Brown. Thank goodness it seems like this Dougie injury is minor, because I don't know if they could have weathered this. But I say that, and then they keep winning. Like they've won the past two games. Obviously, after that week. Excuse the dogs. It's someone barked. Someone's at the doorbell right now. So these two annoying dogs that my brother has, they are just barking their rear ends off. But yeah, Jake Allen was awesome, and he really weathered that storm for the Devils today. Even when they're not at their maximum health. Alex Toth says, "Is it just me, or does it seem like every time Hamilton's name comes up in trade talks, he always finds a way to get hurt?" I'm sure you're just joking there, or maybe there is, something to that. But I don't think that he's necessarily going and intentionally getting injured out there. But yeah, that it is, I guess, a trend there. Moving on, Killabush just says LFG. There you go. Yeah, I mean, look, the team has 11 wins. You should be confident with the Devils right now. They look good, even with again, as we talked about, all the injuries right now. This team is more resilient than I imagined they would be, because I just remember in years past this team just kind of crumbling under pressure, or not when it's not under pressure. Maybe it's they're faltering whenever the 1-0 deficits would happen, everything like that. This team can come back this year. I mean, you saw it even against that ugliest game of the season was the Colorado game. It's like they lose 8-4, obviously, but they go down 5-0 and they almost don't flinch, right? Today, I mean, look, I think with this Devils team, again, they didn't control, pace at all today. I thought that Pittsburgh kind of dominated them in some respects, especially in that offensive zone time, just because their forecheck was so tough. But it's like you get a guy like Nico Hischier blocking shots with his face. This team is just never out of it. Plays like that, they just never give up. So certainly promising start to the season. And Stephen Engel reiterates that first to 11 wins. Yeah, Devils first to 11 wins, first double-digit wins. And they get that. Legend Killer 97. Jake Allen was all 3 stars. He was really good. Let's see what the nerd numbers say about him. And then that overtime, he was just like ridiculous. So it was good to see him get the win today, because, again, the Devils goalies have just kind of had a sink lately. It's like one goalie ends up dominating, then that means that, if Allen ends up dominating, that means Markstrom has to be a dud. Oh, and then the tables reverse kind of thing. Markstrom ends up dominating, then Allen ends up being a dud. Last game, not the best game from Markstrom. Allen has one of his best nights. So got to get some synchronization there, but I thought he was awesome today. The nerd numbers say that he saved 0.77 above expected. So that is really good. And Pittsburgh was peppering him with chances. So that was really, really good. Daniel Horwitz says somehow the D held up. Thank God that this Hamilton injury isn't that long, because I you get the win today and that's fine against a team that's a lot better offensively than I think a lot of us expected them to be. But yeah, I don't know how long, if you could have sustained a long-term Dougie injury without, potentially going and making a trade or something like that. Rumham86 says need a fourth line badly. I thought that the fourth line today, like they've had a lot of stinkers this year. This was probably their worst performance yet. They were just hemmed the entire game. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it was just like who's even? Let's see that unit right there. I mean, it's battered right now, and it's just bad. It's Glendening, Lamico, who I think Lamico was fine, because he actually had a pretty clutch block in that second there, I think. And then Cotter scores the goal in overtime, or sorry, the shootout, which was really sick, by the way. So you kind of give him a pass there, I guess, but just overall, it's not a great day for the fourth line. I thought that every time they were on the ice, it was that was what tilted the ice towards Pittsburgh's end. Dubzilla just says, "What a win!" No doubt, Dubzilla. Michael Rokicki says they somehow won a game. They spent half of it sleepwalking through. I think they spent the first 2 periods buffering, trying to go live. Yeah, they're asking, "Are we live? Are we live?" Like I do every show. Those first 2 periods, especially, you're dead on there, Michael. Good thing. The positive notes is that they came back, and in that third, they tilted the ice towards their end. And then not only that, like the showing in the shootout, to be able to do that, just quickly bury the Penguins. And that overtime was awesome too. I think they had a lot of really strong chances there. I thought that Luke Hughes pass, I think it was to Cotter maybe. I thought that was like a no doubter goal, but evidently not, because it ends up going to the shootout. Um, it was gutsy for the Devils to win that game. And I'll tell you what, the one goal that Pittsburgh got, it was kind of fluky, right? Like the Devils got rolled the Penguins controlled pace in their offensive end the whole day. And it's funny, like all of that happens, yet the one goal that they get is a deflection from who else but Ryan Graves off of Andre Palat's face. Like that was ridiculous too. A lot of face shots today from that puck is a magnet to the face today. Christopher says, excuse me, I just burped because I had some Whataburger. Again, I'm in Oklahoma, so I went in Rome. Christopher says, woohoo, gutsy win, great goal from Grits and Jake Allen, solid again. I just love the effort from it's like the little thing that Grits did. Like the finish was great, he roofed it. But the fact that he's baiting a guy like Letang, who has so much experience and obviously has been such an excellent player his whole career. I just thought that was awesome. And to bait him into a turnover like that, where it's like, that's not a pass that Letang makes. That's not a turnover that Letang makes. And this guy, Gritsuk, who is, 14, 15 games in to his NHL career, the fact that he was able to do that is just such a promising sign. Like everything that about Gritsuk so far this season, I just think there's star potential there. I think there is, and it's just the maturity of his game. Because I think the goals, like we still haven't even seen the goals come in droves yet. That he's figured out all the other aspects of his game. His 200-foot game is strong. He's got great hockey IQ. His puck vision's awesome as well. His ice vision is awesome as well. I think that it's only a matter of time before we see him on Jack and Jesper Bratt's line there. At some point, it's got to happen, and you would hope that it comes sometime soon. Mikey Mike says, didn't catch the game. How did we look overall? Pretty bad in the first two periods, Mikey Mike, but Jake Allen looked great. And then, Devils stepped on the gas in that third period and had a lot of really good chances in overtime, and then buried the Penguins pretty easily in that shootout. So that's how I would sum up the game if I were to give you the kind of elevator pitch about it. Dubzilla says Allen was great and the defense played way better than I thought they would today. Really enjoyed Whitey's effort today. Yeah, no, he looked really good. And I'll tell you what, too. I did some digging on this week because the West Coast trip was just so unacceptable defensive effort wise, and I was just curious, like, is this a structured thing? So I asked Keith about this a bunch this week. It's like, and he basically threw the team under the bus. Like he threw their defensive effort under the bus. He threw their work ethic under the bus. He laid it on strong about this team's poor defensive effort, and he ends up asked Brendan Dillon too, like to kind of dive in. What exactly does that mean? Because any coach can just yell at a team and try to squeeze that out of them, but unless there's something tangible that you change with it, it's not going to do anything. And Dillon, to his credit, he told me that Keith's just had a bunch of tough film sessions this week, so I think that's kind of what's going into the Devils. Even with a battered blue line right now, really turning things around, because it got really ugly there for a second, especially on that West Coast trip. Daniel Hurwitz says, what a sign of things to come for Gritsuk. Yeah, again, the next step for him is get him in to that top six, get him on that line with Jack and Bratt, and I think that he can be, start showcasing that goal scoring a little bit too. Look, he's a guy that I feel like if he got more power play minutes as well, like I feel like he's just a guy that his goal numbers would boom. Don't you think? Right? Christopher says some shaky moments, but did enough to get it done. Shaky moments for sure. I'm trying to see exactly, try to find some of the lowlights here. I mean, look, it's just play against the forecheck, which Pittsburgh dominated at today. Gotta get your breakout. Gotta focus on your breakouts better there for the Devils. Crisp passes along the wall. That's how you do it. I mean, they always just look frazzled against these good forechecking teams, and the Penguins certainly showed that today. But other than that, I mean, look, like some dumb penalties here and there today. It obviously didn't cost them. But I thought that it was just a gutsy win, that they were able to come, not from behind, but were able to survive such a good scare against a team that is off to an excellent start, and was rolling you for the majority of the game, for them to come out victorious, and that was very impressive. Mikey Mike again, love it. Did you see the goal again? Super unlucky. I saw it, and again, of course, it was Ryan Graves, and of course, it bounced off Palat's face. I just thought, my man Duck Duck Gusev, who I'm sure is in the chat right now, he summed it up perfectly. He's like, this perfectly surmises Andre Palat's career with the Devils right now. I feel like that's a pretty good way to sum it up. Dubzilla 47, the cycling was solid all game for the most part. I thought so too, and that's something that recently has been, a concerning trend for the Devils. Their cycling in the ozone has just, not been up to standard, especially for a team that should be as offensively sound as they should be. They have the players to do it. I thought that they did a great job in that regard as well today. Dubzilla again, Pitt did dominate much of the game, but the pinch and press was on full display. Novo, like we have talked about a few games, that makes all the difference. It sure does. Again, this is stuff that we've talked about the past couple of streams here. It kind of came into fruition, I feel like, on this in this game. So that was nice to see. Nicholas Leborn. I'm not going to butcher your last name. This is Nicholas. They have to be more selfish on offense. We saw several times a pass instead of a shot. I have a Nason chance in mind, for example, and too many good chance. I think I remember with Nason when you're talking about too. Was it the one? I think it was to Jack, kind of in. Jack wasn't in front, but no. But I think I do recall what you were talking about. There was. I said this last game too, and the power play where they struggled last game, it was a whole lot of just passing. I said that the MVP of the power play last game, where they went 0 for 5, was the guy who's yelling "shoot" in the stands. Who usually, it's like, who's that a-hole? No, this time, be a little more selfish in the offensive zone, and I guess, you know, uh, um, Shelov's was just a wall today too. So like maybe they were just trying to find the perfect opportunity to stop this hot goaltender. Because there was that, that sequence where Jack was just highway robbed. It was like Luke in the high slot dishes it out to Jack right side, and he ends up, just missing it, and because he, Shelov's like snatched it with his glove, stretched out and snatched it. So that was maybe they were just trying to find the perfect chance. Colin says score prediction for the Pokes. Oh man, yeah, I'm going to that game right after this. Probably, I hope we see it 25-0. That'd be fun. Just see the chance. But I heard they're playing Mizzou. I heard that it's going to be, they're big rivals, I guess. So I'm going to the Oklahoma State hockey game after that. If anybody else here is confused. Dubzilla 47, defense wins in all games. It's just the fact, and the boys came through, even giving up 34 shots. 34 shots, perfect way to get us into talking about number 34, Jake Allen, who had another great game. And the defense did. I thought the defense was a lot better than I thought, they would be this year, or sorry, this game. But they have, pretty good insurance behind them in Jake Allen. Mikey Mike says, how long did they say for Dougie? I didn't see the update either. Slacking over here. You're slacking and I'm slacking, apparently, Mikey. No, the update on Dougie was that he's going to miss. It's a minor injury. Keith said it was a minor injury before the games. He told reporters that were there. He said he'll miss at least a week. What that ends up meaning, I don't know, because he also called Connor Brown day to day, and we still haven't seen him yet since that West Coast road trip. So, oh, don't you just love injuries in the NHL? No, as I asked Keith about the other day, and he, kind of got mad at me for. But we'll see. We move on. Dubzilla says, "I'm just stunned. Whitey wasn't picked to pieces. I was too. Again, I thought that this was going to be a huge step down defensively for the Devils today. But again, I think these film sessions that I alluded to earlier, I think these film sessions that they had this week, I think that Brad Shaw. I told you guys to trust in Brad Shaw. He had such a good start to the season that I think structurally they would be able to, figure it out over these next couple games. I think it was just a lot of shell shock in that in that West Coast road trip, because they're dealing with so many injuries. They're dealing with the injury to their best defenseman, their best defensive defenseman, and arguably in Brett Pesce, a guy who brings so much structure back there. I'd probably say he's their best defenseman too. So they rebounded and were able to make the proper adjustments. So that was good to see. Dubzilla, they need to land this trade for Ryan O'Reilly and move Glass to 4C. It will make 4 very tough lines. Yeah, and look, I think if you bump Glass down, who's been awesome this year, and you can get some offensive pop there and some obviously defensive pops, because that's his game. I think that'd be great, but I also think that he's been a good 3C as well. So But if you can get O'Reilly in the mix too, and I know that he was, very emotional after his game the other day, and maybe he's willing to waive his no move clause to come to New Jersey to have a second great year, which he talked about. He only had one great year in the NHL. You maybe go have a second one in New Jersey. We'll see what ends up happening. But I feel like he always gets in. He's been in a lot of rumors lately, and anytime someone talks about these rumors, they always bring him up as a potential candidate for the Devils. So we will see. Noah says, once Nico got hit in the face, I thought it was over. Hope the family trip is going well. Can't wait for this team, for when this team is completely healthy with a few key trade pieces. Yeah, no, I was. Anytime there's a Devil that goes down with injury, you almost have to like brace for impact, because Brandon Dillard said it best. You might need to like wave some sage around this room or something like that to try to, exercise the demon, these injury demons that have been affecting them so much early this year. When they get fully healthy, it's going to be the same awesome team they were on that 8-game winning streak. There's a reason they won 8 games to start the season. Colin says score prediction for the Pokes hockey game. I'm going to go. It's going to be 7-4, and I'll be there right after this. I gotta head over there soon. Dubzilla says make it happen, Novo. Get in Fitzy's ear and tell him to get this trade done. Rumors swirling about sending Palat to Nashville to finish his career with Stamkos. Make it so, Novo. I'll tell you what. That's interesting. I kind of forgot about that. The little angle there about Palat, and maybe they can. There's so many connections there between Fitzgerald and just the Predators in general that I was just about to say maybe that he can kind of swindle the deal there, but I feel like they always try to they also try to extort him to an extent, because maybe they do know him that well and they don't want it to be looked at as, hey, you're just giving your buddy a favor. But I don't know, like what would the trade be? Would it be Palat and then like a pick or something to get O'Reilly? Palat and a prospect to get O'Reilly. I know O'Reilly's not having I guess he was emotional the other day. I don't know his exact stat line. I just think eye test wise he'd be such a great fit for this team. Put him on that third line and then get out of the way, and that would be a good little fit. Let's move on. I just lost my place in the comments. Mikey Mike says, I bet Ryan Graves anytime goal. Great bet there, Mikey Mike. Yeah, too easy. It's always these former Devils that are scoring against them. I know there's a lot of former Devils on the Flames, so whenever they play Calgary, betting galore for you. Can maybe even make a parlay with it. Dubzilla says, thanks for the show. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Dubzilla. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for making the chat so active today. We really love this. Great to hear you and James Nichols talking to fans. Yeah, but I don't know if anyone wants to hear James Nichols in his awful Staten Island accent talking to fans that much. No, he does great work as well. The Magic Grits is blossoming before our eyes. He sure is. I mean, he looks like he's almost, I don't want to say the opposite, because I knew that he had some of these traits in his game, but he's such a better all-around player than I could have ever, anticipated him being in his first 15 NHL games. That contract's going to get really interesting. He's a restricted free agent after the year. Let's see what ends up happening. Noah says, I think the crowd today also gave the team a little bit of boost. Thoughts on the no instigator penalty? Not that it matters. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't really have many thoughts on that. I guess you're talking about I'm assuming you're talking about the Dylan fight. Yeah, it's the only fight in the game. Again, don't really have any thoughts on that. It didn't really matter at the end there. But I thought that, I mean, if he's the first, if Meth is the first one, throwing blows and stuff like that, then maybe. And I didn't hear the crowd, but I mean, you heard them through the broadcast, and it was awesome. Dubzilla says, little side note, Don is getting really comfy announcing. I'm liking him a lot. I think that he's awesome. I think that Don has had a really excellent start to the season. And if you guys go listen to our interview with him that we just did the other day, be sure to go check that out. We had a fun little live stream with him. I thought it was one of our most fun interviews yet. So you guys asked a lot of really great questions. Daniel Hurwitz, we need grits and Jack. We need grits with Jack and Brad just to get Nason off that line. I thought that mix would be a lot better. I thought that it would be Nason driving net front and being able to maybe finish some chances there, because he was such a good 5-on-5 finisher, especially net front last year. Evidently not. Get Gritsuk there. Get Gritsuk there and unlock his scoring. And I think this team is going to be cooking with gas at that point. Damien from the land down under says, Jake the Snake Allen. That's it. That's all I got to say. Well said, Damien. Yeah, he had an excellent game today. Steve K says, What a great win. Even better since my wife is a Pens fan and ready to give me grief. Good for you, Steve K. Look at you, but don't do so much where you're in the doghouse tonight, my man. Matthias Wiggleham says shootout win. Yeah, oh, I mean, first shootout we've seen. This team's been going to overtime a heck of a lot lately. So hopefully that trend doesn't continue because I like to get out of these games and get on the stream as quick as humanly possible. Zach Chin says, getting to my car now, still high on the vibes of the shootout. Couldn't ask for more out of Allen. Is there a more polite way for the Penguins to have scored? Again, yeah, my man Duck Duck Goose have summed it up best. He said that this probably sums up Palat's Devils career more than anything. And I think that's a fair piece of analysis. Rick Roma says Nemec gets more minutes and more responsibility, and he looks great. He had an awesome scoring chance. I'm just pulling up my notes here. Held the blue line, set up a scoring chance. I think, yeah, Sheilov stopped it, obviously, but you just see those offensive chops are there for Nemec. Like, you see the glimpses of it here and there, and he's put up a lot of points this year, no doubt. You just want to see him have a little bit more consistent, and none of those boneheaded mistakes like the one in the defensive zone the other day, where even Don LaGreca on the broadcast is like thinking, "No," you know what I mean? He's talking about that in the. It was the one to Kreider against the Ducks the other day. That was a pretty brutal giveaway. But I'll tell you what, like, again, in the offensive zone, I think when he's able to do his thing offensively, that's when you start to see Nemec's offensive game. And I think that, more minutes, more responsibility, just like he did in the playoffs. Maybe we'll see a bit of a boom here. Rick Roma has a hot take. Allen might be Fitz's best move. Yeah, I don't know about best. I'm still a big Timo Meier trade fan, and I think that with as slow of a start as he's had, I think that the extending Siegenthaler and getting him at the AAV he got him at, to the point where Siegenthaler is saying that he took a pay cut as well. These are a couple good, Fitzgerald moves. Allen's up there though. I mean, that was, for him to get him to waive the no trade clause, and for him to, get him to this piece of, get him to that excellent piece of negotiating business by having the high term, low AAV contract is certainly something that's praiseworthy. Bill Baker says the Devils seem to be liking the early games this year, but I feel like every game the Devils are being outshot. Hopefully they tighten things up. Yeah, I mean, look, and I think the analytics even back that up. Like, you see the Devils are kind of ranking low in the analytics department this year, whereas, in years past, they were like kind of the analytics darlings. Now, I will say with the caveat that I think some of the private models have them as better than some of the public models say. But you'd like to see them be a little bit more crisp in the offensive zone. You certainly would. Nicholas said, I like Nemec, and Keefe sending him an OT was a nice vote of confidence. It sure was. And again, as our friend Rick Roma set up here, the more minutes he gets, it just seems like, he's all the more confident. So that's positive signs all around. Look, the right side of that blue line is going to get crowded once Kovacevic gets back, once Pesce gets back in the lineup, once Dougie gets back in the lineup. They have the depth to withstand it. They have the guys that are able to step up in the absence of these guys, as you saw with Nemec today, as you saw with White today. Let's see how much they can sustain it, and let's see what happens whenever Kovacevic does get back to the lineup, who that ends up being, packing his bags and getting out. Zach Chin says the 18, 12, 20, 81 line, so the Grits, Palat, and Cody Glass line was great early on. It sure was. Then obviously Grits get the goal there. There was another note I had from that line that I forgot. No, actually, this wasn't from that line, but I thought it was. No, this was Bratt. Bratt had like this awesome. He won a freaking awesome puck battle in the D zone, stole it away from a Pens player, and dished it backhanded to set up this early Jack Hughes chance. It was a Jack Hughes and Nason scoring chance. They ended up not scoring on it, but it was really, really just awesome play from him. Obviously, I know that has nothing to do with the line that you just brought up, but I just feel like, I just wanted to mention that because I was been itching to get that note out there. Alex Toth, and then we're going to wrap up after him and PM Jerzel's comment here. Alex Toth says, do you think the Devils will be in on a Kyrou trade? If yes, what would you be willing to give up? Yes, I think they should be in it. Will they be in on it? I don't know, but I know that Friedman mentioned the other day on 32 Thoughts that a lot of teams were kind of hesitant to go to that $8 million number with him last year. But now with the cap rising, teams should be all over that. And I think 8 million. He's a player that's kind of worth 8 million. I know that he was scratched and the Blues won. I get that. That's more of a disciplinary thing. I would be in on that trade. Will they? I think Fitz will be aggressive, so I will say that maybe. Yeah, I'm sure I'll make the call. I think he'd be such a good fit in that top six. PM Drizzles. If Jack scored at OT, the buzzer at the OT buzzer, the roof would have blown off the Rockets. Sure would have. I would have had a ton of FOMO if I missed that. And the last one here from our friend Cranman says, Novo, where's the OK State jersey? I'll be right back. It's right here. Yes. I'll put their purse over here. Look at this bad boy. Huh? Nice and stitched, and look at that on the shoulder there. This is great. So shout out to the Oklahoma State hockey team, which I'm gonna go see their game right now. Getting me that. But thank you all for tuning in to Speaking of the Devils. I'm your host, Ryan Novozinsky. We appreciate you guys blowing up the live chat once again. We appreciate it if you guys would like and subscribe, share the link, tell your friends, all that good stuff. And we will see you next game. I think they play the Islanders on Monday, so we will see you on Monday. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.